Hello and welcome to another episode of Cascadia Mountain Weather. My name's Kyle McCrone. I'm here with Wyatt Mullen, and today we're looking at the temperatures currently outside. So a lot of Arctic air is rushing in through the Fraser Gap, coming in kind of through the Okanagan, and you can see the temperatures are just plummeting tonight. So, today was pretty mild, highs maybe around 40 in the lowlands. We've already dropped into the 20s in the Seattle area. Look at up near Bellingham, -3 already. 14 degrees in Bellingham, like out in the in the Methow Valley, -9 up around Mazama, -1 in the Okanagan. So it's getting bitterly cold already. So we're going to talk about the snowfall that's already happened, looking at any potential lowland snow and also the cold temperatures for this weekend. And we'll discuss recreation around that. Okay, so this shows the snow depth back around January 1st. So take note of that. And now let's look at January 12th. Huge difference. A lot of areas have doubled or more than doubled their snowpack, and especially lower elevations on the west side have really got their first good snowfall of the year. So previously on January 1st, we were sitting at around 50%, even worse on the west side of typical snowpack. Now it's much better. Up north and in the Olympics, still not very good, but especially in the Central Cascades, closer to 80%. This is a lot better. So now Wyatt is going to talk about, are we looking at any lowland snow? I know people have been talking about that for at least a week now. Are we getting any?
Yeah, so if you're down kind of in the Seattle area, you might be seeing a couple flakes right now, and you might have seen some today, especially up near Everett, as kind of the Arctic front moved through and you got some convergence. It was actually pretty interesting. There was convergence that was coming off of Vancouver Island instead of the traditional Olympics, so that was cool to see. But we're probably not going to see much down in the lowlands. Or in the mountains, honestly, for the next couple days after tonight. So this is the last 24 hours, just highlighting that we've seen some snow, especially near kind of the pass areas, a little bit up north, and then we saw some, especially down near kind of the Washington-Oregon border. So there's that, and then 72 hours, highlighting we have gotten a lot of snow, especially down kind of in this, it was like more focused in the northern section earlier in the week, and now it's been more focused in the southern section. And this, I updated this for tonight, showing Mount Baker only had about 5 inches, but once you go down to Stevens Pass and Snoqualmie Pass over the last 24 hours, both of them have seen almost a foot of new snow. And over the last week, we're seeing some pretty impressive amounts. 60 inches up near Baker, 50 to 60 inches near Stevens and Snoqualmie Pass. Paradise 70 inches. And you can see once again, we highlighted this in our last video, but just how much the snow depths have increased from 35 inches to 70 inches at Baker, 37 to 75 at Snoqualmie Pass, up to over 100 inches down at Paradise. So really seeing some good snow totals there. Still below average, but we're getting there. We're getting there. So this weekend, this is showing the snow that's basically falling right now. This was from this morning's run, showing kind of what it thought might be kind of that convergence zone developing around Everett. And this is for 24-hour snow totals. But as we get later in the weekend, we see that basically all that snow disappears. And in our last video, we talked about the chance of maybe seeing some snow up near Seattle for the weekend, especially kind of into Friday, Saturday. That is almost completely ruled out. There's still a chance that it will extend kind of north into the South Sound because it's going to be going down near like Portland, but most likely we're really not going to see much. And what that means is that we're going to have a gorgeous weekend. So we can go back to, this is kind of tonight, so 10 p.m. Thursday, going into Friday, you can see that it's clearing out basically everywhere, with the exception of a couple showers that might not be showing up here. And then this is tomorrow, pretty sunny and clear. And going into Saturday and Sunday, it should be mostly clear as well, with maybe some high clouds moving in. And the chance of some showers maybe on Saturday. So just be aware of that. Temperatures are cold. This is the European model run for Saturday morning, showing, single digits in the lowlands. negative teens and maybe even negative 20s in the upper elevations. That is really going to be the big story. This is looking at Seattle. So this is kind of the coldest temperatures we've seen in the last about 20 plus years in the Seattle area. We have a chance, not the highest chance, but we have a chance of setting the coldest temperature at SeaTac Airport we've seen in about 25 years. So this is definitely, even if it's not coming with a lot of snow, kind of one of those upper tier blasts that we haven't seen in quite some time. This is from the National Weather Service showing kind of the prediction for overnight temperatures tonight. And they're going to be pretty similar for Saturday morning as well, except colder down south. But yeah, single digits, negatives, especially up in the mountains. And then look at the wind chills. I mean, the wind chills are insane, right? Up near Bellingham right now, the wind chills are already in the negative single digits. And there's a chance up in the mountains they could be in the negative 20s and negative 30s, especially near like Snoqualmie's and Stevens Pass. And this is for ending Saturday morning. So if you are going out Saturday, just be aware that it is going to be about as cold as it gets in Washington.
Yeah, so I think that we all know it's going to be really cold, but really an X factor you have to look at is wind. When it's that cold already, single digits, sub-zero, any bit of wind can be incredibly chilling. And the wind's going to be very different in different areas due to the pressure differences we're seeing across the eastern and western parts of the state. So we're going to take a look here at wind over the weekend. So starting Thursday into Friday, we're seeing still mostly westerly winds, and it's more impacting the Southern Cascades and Oregon Cascades, which are also going to pick up some fresh snowfall Friday into Saturday. Now let's speed ahead to Saturday. This is when the easterly winds are really going to pick up. High pressure over interior Washington and Oregon, and lower pressure out to the coast with an approaching front that's going to hit Portland. That's going to draw out that cold air rushing across the gaps, and it's going to go through the lowest gaps. That means primarily Snoqualmie and Stampede Pass, a little bit of Stevens Pass, and then really the Columbia River Gorge. So we can see, like the Dalles in that area in Portland's going to get very, very cold and windy. And Snoqualmie Pass is going to get hit hard by these easterly winds on Saturday. So that's really something to consider. Even if it is less windy on Sunday, which is the forecast, you could still see a lot of damage to the snowpack, wind slabs, slopes getting really, stripped and blowing snow from those strong easterly winds, because the snow is going to be so light and easy to move around. So this is a picture I took a few years ago during, really strong winds and blowing snow. So even though, Saturday is forecasted to be sunny out at Snoqualmie Pass, you never know, it could be visibility could actually be impacted simply by blowing snow. Now, it's probably not going to be like a full-on blizzard, but it definitely will make conditions more uncomfortable, especially in places that you're exposed to those easterly winds. This is taking a deep dive at Snoqualmie Pass. We're looking at temperature, wind chill, and gusts. So you can see that the temperatures are going to be hovering around zero on Saturday. Saturday morning, likely well like below zero, but with sustained, 15 to 20 mile per hour winds, the wind chill could be negative 25, negative 30 even, especially think about when you start going up from the pass. I mean, we could see negative 30, negative 40 at the top of Alpental in terms of wind chill. So absolutely frigid conditions that probably most of us here don't even have the clothing or like equipment to handle, not to mention the experience. So definitely be careful out there. Hypothermia can come, frostbite can come really fast. This is a great graphic from the National Weather Service showing the effect of wind chill. So let's take a 0 degree Fahrenheit and throw a 30 mile per hour wind on top of it. That's going to give you a wind chill of negative 26 degrees, which corresponds to frostbite on exposed skin in 30 minutes. You go up a little bit and it gets bad real fast, negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit, 30-degree winds, you're going to have frostbite in 10 minutes. And you can see that the colder it gets, basically the bigger effect wind has. It's a non-linear relationship. So, I think really this weekend, you got to think about trying to stay out of the wind, staying in the sun, and really, packing carefully and bringing more warm layers than you typically can, and trying not to sweat, trying to avoid getting your layers wet. This is something we're not used to, this kind of very frigid, windy, cold air. This is the current avalanche forecast for Friday. It's, as you can see, higher down in the south because they're getting a lot more fresh snow and higher winds. And then gradually, as you start to go north, there's been less fresh snow, so less avalanche danger. This is the specific forecast for west north, or like the Baker region, for the Cascades. So they're highlighting wind slabs primarily, but definitely in some of the other areas, there's a little more like inner storm layers and other things. So definitely read up on the NWAC forecast if you're looking to get out. Now, a lot of people have been wondering, with this cold snap happening, would you expect there to be a lot of lowland ice climbing? I think that this is a pretty short cold snap, and I've experienced other cold snaps that maybe aren't quite as cold, but are slightly longer. And the problem that you see is all of basically everything, including even Eastern Washington, is starting from nothing. I went touring in the Alpental Valley, Snoqualmie backcountry, last weekend, and it was the least amount of ice forming on the typical ice climbs I've ever seen for early January. Typical climbs that usually are almost climbable had basically nothing, or just like a single pillar touching down. So while it's really exciting to see these cold temperatures, I'm not super optimistic about lowland ice. I mean, something that's more higher volume, that has running water, could start to freeze partially by the end of this cold snap. But I wouldn't expect anything like really full on. This is a picture from some lowland ice a few years ago on day 5 of the cold snap. We were able to find some daggers coming down, and this was an existing dry tooling crag. So we were able to set up a top rope and safely have some fun, try to swing into some ice and do some mixed climbing. So, probably your best shot is like Wayne's World or one of those mixed crags that you can use bolts still, you can top rope and stuff like that. And the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook is really taking us out of this cold spell and really right back into basically normal or slightly normal, warmer than normal temperatures. So the long range outlook, it doesn't look very stormy. There might be some snow next week, but not super warm, not super cold, like pretty mild and pretty average. We'd like to take a moment to thank all of our patrons that support us. So these individuals subscribe to our Patreon. They pay us $5 a month, and for that, they get exclusive weekly recreation recommendations. So we send them an email every Thursday night with our in-depth recommendations about like what type of recreation we think would be great for the weekend, whether it's ice climbing or skiing or snowshoeing, looking at, what areas would be better, what days are best to get out. So if that's something that really piques your interest, I encourage you to check out our page. You can go to cascadiamountainweather.com, which will redirect to our Patreon, and we'll also include it in the show notes. So thank you very much. And it's going to be a really interesting weekend out there. We're going to see if we can stay warm, try to stay in the sun, but I think it's going to be beautiful with all the fresh snow, and I hope people get out there and stay safe. Thank you.